this guy, all these things, right, they're so high poly that they might slow your walkthrough. Okay, then you have to find a balance law. So is it really necessary that everything is going to be done with pixel Megascan stuff, or for all the rocks and all that stuff, but or will it slow my so-called walkthroughs down? Okay. If it slows you down, it's thing down, and also if it bloats the whole after you build that thing, right, it becomes like 50 gigs to install this particular this thing in order to get the walkthrough running, right? Then it's not as real-time friendly anymore, you see. Okay. So deliverable, playable Unity thing, but in addition to that, you should also have the video record of your walkthrough. In weekly work, you should always back up in the ICT server. Okay. Questions. The rest is all the plagiarism stuff, late submission, so it's standard procedures. Questions? If no, I'm going to move on to the CA1 brief. So today, between today and then next week, again, that means for your case will be next Wednesday, which will be the 27th, 2359. You're supposed to submit this one besides your pure ref for the assignment one with the backstory thing. You're supposed to do this CA1. Later on, we're going to cover all these things where basically you build a terrain of the island, which has a cliff. And basically, one of the problems with a terrain tool is when you build something that is super high, right, like a mountain or whatever, you get this kind of UV stretching. And this is not, once you go and texture, this thing is going to look crappy around this area. So how do we fix this thing? So later on, I'm going to show you some possible ways, okay, that you can fix the UV thing. So this is the size comparator file that I gave you all in mail. So you can actually put this into Unity, and then you can create the terrain, which I believe you know how to do already. And then go and sculpt to something that you feel that is interesting. Then how you can export this thing out. Then after which you can in Maya or in ZBrush do some retopology, and then UV unwrap so that it looks nicer in terms of the UV unwrap. Okay, so after that, right, you just need to take a picture of this one, the Unity one, the crappy UV one, and then the good UV one from Maya after the fix. Put them side to side, save as a PNG, and then just submit. And that's it. And also you need to put in a sea. You don't really, as long as there's a sea, right, this plane, you make sure that the island don't go outside of this sea plane size comparator. Make sure I can see that you didn't go over it. Then you can get full mark. Okay. Any question about CA1? Questions? Gosh. Okay, if no questions, let me go into the lesson proper today. Let me do something. I think somebody said that this guy is wrong. I need to change this. Let me see. This is a script that you will need to use. So let me change this script. say that the script is corrupted. Object to terrain. Export terrain, object to terrain. No, Unity terrain to object. Terrain, export terrain, CS. Let me open with text edit. Okay. Copy. Let me paste it over here first. Then I need to overwrite this file. Browse local file. The CS export terrain. I think I know why she thinks that it's wrong. Hold on, let me download this thing and double check. Replace this thing and then you need to open it up with text editor. It should look correct. Okay, let me see. So just take note, right? In the process, this one once you download it, right? This is a code that you will need later on, which you need to copy and paste the code. You need to right click and then say open with whatever text editor or Visual Studio, whatever it is. I think if you open up with Word document also, it will come out, or it will actually come out like this. Okay, basically it's not machine language lah. Okay, then you need to copy all this code over to somewhere in Unity's C# script. Okay, so but if you open like that directly, right? Well, I don't know why. Somehow or other, I don't know how just now the student was asking. I have a student is asking right now that, hey, how come it's all machine codes cannot use them? So just make sure that you right click and then go and look for Word document. And then it should come out with all this kind of more sensible code language that you can read. Okay, not machine language. Understand? Okay, so but we'll go into this code later on. So let me throw away this guy. Okay, so this is the 4 yardstick stuff that is inside this week 1 learning material. You download it. Let me see. Let's just download it and show you what it is inside. Okay, so let me see. Yardstick. So there's actually the island, the sea, the sky, and UE4 guy FBX. And all this, when I exported it out, the embed media is turned on so that the textures are embedded with it. Okay, so if you go into Unity right now, so is Arun in, or is he still not in? Yeah, I think he's still not in it. Can somebody try to reach him? Okay, let me throw away all this. Delete. Start from scratch. Okay, so in your assets folder, right? When you created, this is a URPR. So create a meshes folder and also the textures folder. By default, there should be a materials folder. So the meshes, I'm gonna put all this in there from the yardstick thing. And then right now, if you go and choose this one, right, the island, there is something called extract material and also extract texture. So extract materials, then you go to the materials folder, you extract the material, then you extract the texture and then go to the textures to extract the textures. Okay. And I'm going to do the same for the rest also. Extract materials, extract the textures, the sky, also extract the material, and extract the textures. Okay. So now the materials, they come in as white. Environment one, you need the texture is there, so you need to go and look for the texture. The environment one is something that it looks like this thing. Then the C one, you go to the base map, then look for the C one, which is something like this. And then the sky one, go and look at this guy for the sky, which is like that. Okay, then you can go back to your meshes, right? You can throw this guy in. Oh, you see? Oh, got texture already. Oh, throw this guy in, then throw this guy in. Oh. And then, but you need to make sure that all three of them, in terms of the position, is set to 0, 0, 0. Frame it. There's some weird thing going on. There should be another island down here, but I don't know why. You see? Then when that happens, right, you might want to go to your camera. You know the near click and far click. You need to play around with this thing. Maybe 10, I don't know. Then maybe it will not have that. I don't know why there's this clipping issue. But in any case, your character is going to be somewhere around here. So if I put the UE4 guy, right, that's how small he is. What the heck? I don't know why. The camera 0.3, 0.1? No, it's not 0.3. What the 100? I don't know why the other island is disappearing. 0.3. Anyway. Why? Anyway, you're going to build something different. I'm not going to worry too much about that one. Okay. Somehow it's like, it's something to do with the near and far click. Okay, so this is your size comparator. Okay, any questions so far? Now, when you are building your so-called terrain, right? The terrain sculpting, okay. You might want to bring in your third-person character camera, and then so that you can walk around your terrain. So the one to use is actually this one. So I'm going to pull this image to your WhatsApp group. This one is free on the WhatsApp in the Unity store. Asset store. Ah, okay, so I just sent to your WhatsApp group. So my advice is to put this guy in as soon as possible so that you can once in a while go and activate it and then go and press this play button so you can walk around and see whether your terrain blocking is working. But sometimes you build your cliff in such a way that then it's so extreme that you cannot even walk up, and then something is wrong. You have to somehow it needs to be accessible, so right? Okay. So that's that. So once you have that guy in, right, you probably can just throw away your UE4 guy anyway, because the size should be the same, around the same. Then obviously you can create your terrain, which basically, in order to fire out your terrain, right? Terrain tools, right? Hold on. Sorry. Okay. Anyway, right now, don't worry that how come Mr. Q is not recording this thing, but everything that I'm touching on is in this particular node. Okay, so it's already uploaded into Mail. So and I want to think that my notes are detailed, so it should be able to cover whatever I'm going to cover live. It's just that live sometimes I might talk about some other tricks, so that's that. Anyway, let me fire up that note. It's my notes so that I don't miss anything. Questions? Or all asleep already? Terrain approaches. Okay, put it on the side first. Close. Okay, so in order to fire up the terrain tool, the terrain tool is not by default on. A lot of things in Unity is like that. So which means you need to go where? Here we are. Yuxian, the way that I see it is better that for different kind of projects, you should create a different Unity project. So let's say for assignment 1, you create an assignment 1 for just dealing with assignment 1 only. And then when you're dealing with assignment 2, you create another one. Okay. I would even venture to go into for CA1, you do it in CA1 as a separate thing. Maybe CA1 you can still go to the point where I can still do the CA1 within the assignment 1 project folder. So that means you just create a project folder for assignment 1, and within the assignment 1 you do the CA, because somewhat is related. So it's kind of trying to contain the damage. If anything happened to your Unity project, you don't lose that much. Things is not super corrupted long. Okay, it's like it corrupts everything. Yeah, it's troublesome, but it's better to be troublesome than to lose things. And in fact, for me, right, what I do is before every big step, right, I will back up. I'll do a duplicate copy of the Unity project. So let's say after I've done my terrain, I imported it in, and before I make any changes to, say, a shader graph or whatever, I'll back up the Unity project, so that if anything happens when I do something, and it corrupts my whole Unity project, right, I have something to fall back on. Okay. It's better to be troublesome, eat up storage space than to lose time. Okay. Time is much more precious. Okay. Understand? Okay. So for the terrain tool, yeah, you can start a new project one right now if you want to. Just make sure that when you create the project, right, it's URP or don't go and create something that's for 3D standard pipeline and or HDRP. Let me see. For terrain 2, you need to, in order to assess that, okay, okay lah. I ask question, nobody answer one. I'll try to be interactive with you're the one to be interactive with me. Then later on, your feedback will say, hey, I'm not interactive with you. Okay. Anyway, package manager is usually where we always go to, right? If there's anything that we want to fire up that is supposed to be in Unity, but it's not exactly started off. Okay. It's like a lot of things are turned off by default to save space, I guess. The Unity registry at the moment, you go and type terrain 2, nothing is showing up. Okay, in order for it to show up is because terrain 2 is what they call in preview mode. It's still like, I don't know. I don't think it's like super unstable. It's just that it's still in preview stage, or like beta stage or whatever. That's why you need to turn on preview. So you have to go to I think it's project settings. There is this thing where you go to the package manager, right? There is this enable preview packages. Then you press understand. Now you see, the preview will come up. And then because preview is also shown, that's why now you can find terrain 2. Okay. And then, okay, with this one, then you can you see down here, there is this install button. You can install. Then after that, you can install, right? I'm not going to use this one. I'm going to open another project already done. Okay. Scene. Okay, let's close this one. Don't save. Go to this guy, not this one. So what will happen is, so in my notes, right, you see some screen captures of this thing. What the? You see down here? Terrain tools. Then you press the install. There will be this download asset samples from asset store. So that one also you click, okay, and then you direct you to somewhere like here, and then you say add to my assets. Okay, you see this particular icon or preview image, and then you ask you, hey, you want to open in Unity? Okay, just double confirm. So okay, open in Unity, then you bring it into Unity, just like DLC for your games, additional stuff. Okay, then you say, you have this thing now, then you can download, and then you will have this import thing again. You import, okay. Then what happens is your terrain 2 will have additional brushes like this, alpha brushes. Okay. Any questions about this? Have you all done this before when you're doing STLD?
Don't have.
Don't have. Okay. The project settings at home. Question. If you have questions, can you all try to just voice out, because I don't read the chat so oftenly. Okay, so it's better that you voice out. Okay, so the edit project settings, right? You go under, there's something called package manager. So you make sure that this thing is turned on, the preview packages. Can? Yeah.
Can.
In any case, I think I did put it in the notes down here. Yeah, you see, in the notes. Okay. I try to think like y'all when I'm writing these notes lah. So for the terrain tool, basically when you go to, then you can basically down here, right, you can go, let's say I'm creating a new terrain, right? You can just right click and then say 3D object and then terrain. It will create a new terrain, which, yeah, you see, this is a new terrain. Okay. And the funny thing is the new terrain, right, is always the center of the word is like that, but it's at the corner like this. It's kind of weird, but it is what it is. Then you just have to play around with it lah. Then down here you have these settings and you can change the sizing and stuff. It's like, wow, do you need the default size? Don't think so. So you can change your let me see the terrain width and all that stuff. You can change it to 150. If I'm not wrong, it's 150 by 150. And then you can then shift it. So that it basically that half hemisphere, right, can cover, it's like that long. You get me? And then in a way, you should be able to, in the position, right, you can find some kind of logic one. Then you try to find the whole number long. Okay. And then this one, negative 0.9, might as well be negative 0.5 or negative 1 to be more exact. You get what I mean? Then after that, you can start sculpting. Okay, understand? The sculpting part, this one you can sculpt. This one is this one is terrain, this one is to create more terrain. It's the sculpting thing. The sculpting thing you see you can paint texture or the sculpting, you can sculpt noise, bridge, terrace. I thought there's a sculpt up and down thing, or raise and lower terrain. Then you can sculpt. Where's my? Where is? What the? Yeah. Brush strength increase. There's my brush size. Too big already. What? Brush strength too much. What? Wow, too much. Size is too big. Okay. Wow. See, all this kind of things. But there's also the shortcut keys down here. Hold A, mouse left, right. You can decrease the strength. The size is S, I think. You can also rotate by pressing D. Also, all the shortcut is here. So I'm not going to play with this. But you notice down here, like you press A, strength. Mouse left. Okay, this one is like you don't press any button. You press the A, right, and then you just go left and right. Okay, you don't press left any buttons. Okay, and then right now this one is because it has this very it's basically just now was a hard brush, and then now this one, and then you can also press the S for the size. Just take note that because we always have this intuition, this instinct to press the button, but you don't need to press any button to change. You just left, right, and to change the sizing. And let's say if I use the star, right, I think D, you can rotate it. Can? Also, it's like that lah. The good thing about this one, it has all this this is the additional stuff. So it's, this one already can whoop. you already can create some kind of like very organic feel, kind of like a raising and valleys. And then I think pressing the control pushes it down. Yeah. Okay. And so with this, you can go and stop. I'm going to throw away this terrain. Ah! Okay. So let me see. Is this is the original one? Oh no! I killed my own whatever. Yeah, let me close this thing and open it again. Don't save Let me try. Any questions so far?
Not yet.
Sorry? Okay. Oh no, it's saved. You see, my thing has got corrupted already. Ah well, life goes on. Well, whatever. So I see, that's why you should always back things up. So I got this thing. I don't know whether the terrain tool has something that's called flatten, like really flatten it to, maybe no. Wait, let me see. Let me try. This is my original terrain.
Oh, I remember it's the raise lower terrain, then it will apply to every plant.
Yeah, that's why if it's that way, right, then my this portion also will go flat. You get what I mean? So wow,
Then
whatever.
I think must use manually go and flatten it already.
Yeah, lor, that's why. Anyway, let's go on. Anyway, this part is going to be, it's not useful. We can always cut it out, which later I'll show you how we're going to deal with it. So one of the problems with the rain tool, right, is you notice that like this one, you see, it's like once you do anything that is super high, right, like in terms of the height, you have this kind of texture stretching, which is bad. No matter how you try to paint it, right, the texture stretching will be seen one. Okay, so but okay, other things to consider about for the terrain tool is the good thing about terrain tool, that is this particular thing that you can besides the raise and lower terrain, you can actually paint textures. When you go to the paint textures part, right, there is this portion where you can put in your materials, not the materials, but the layers, where you can have multiple textures, and then you can just like paint, kind of mix and match and create a blending between two textures or three textures. I think the maximum you can only go to is 4 So this is the pros of a terrain tool. And then besides that, there is also another thing in terrain tool, which is the scatter. Or you can paint trees. So what you can do is you can actually download as tree assets or grass assets from Unity store, Unity asset stores, and then you can pull all those assets into those. Make sure that is you need to make them as prefabs first. Then you bring it into this. I think there's one part where you can actually, you can basically, if you have all those prefabs, you can pull it over to here. The trees, no, somewhere I think it's here. This particular part, you can just pull it in, right, and then it will list down all your prefabs that you can actually paint and scatter it. So the scattering and the multi-texture painting thing is the pros of the texture of the terrain tool, while the UV stretching is a con. Okay, the bad thing about it. So how do we solve this problem? Okay, we at the moment, I mean, this is my approach lah. Okay, there might be other approaches. The way I'm thinking, okay, I'm trying to bring you all through how I think. Okay, when I'm trying to do problem solve is there a way that I can export out whatever I sculpted with the terrain tool, okay, and somehow make maybe even at the same time, because I can export it out, right, reduce the poly count. Because right now there's a lot of this, because terrain tool by default is this squarish thing. It's like, what the heck, all these things is wasted now. Can I throw away all this stuff? No, I don't need all these additional areas. This is like killing all these poly counts down here. I don't need one. No, so I want to reduce the poly count, and at the same time, want to make the UV unwrap better. Okay, so that's the goal. So how can I export this mesh? So I go and research. Is there a possibility to export a terrain mesh into as an OBJ or FBX? Because usually OBJ and FBX is the standard universal 3D format for other softwares to read. So the intention is to get it into Maya or ZBrush. Okay, so I search and found a code. Okay. Well, that's how I think. So I found a code from at this place. I need to change this again. Edit link. I need to change this. It's not this. Control X. I'm supposed to put it here. Which I have to change this particular. But anyway, you can always copy this thing and then. But I will update the notes later on. You come here and you can download this thing. You can download this particular stuff. Actually, you can just download this one. And then there is also the how to use it. But I actually strip out the code for you, and also where is that? Which is what the one that I mentioned just now. So the code is here. How to use is here. This is where it's from. It's actually, even for this one, they actually refer to this particular wiki, but this one for some reason is non-functional anymore. Which is like, I was so lucky to have downloaded this code before this thing became non-functional. Any case, just now I show you how to open up this thing with Word. So how you use it is basically in Unity, right? So just now you can open out this c.cs with the Word document, right? So like Word document. I mean, just imagine I was able to do that already. And then in the scripts, right? What you need to do is you just go create another C# script. So you know that you choose this one, you see there's all these kind of things. By default, it will create this thing. Then what you need to do is you copy that script, this one, from the Word document. When you open it out in the Word document, and then you copy and paste it over here. And all this, the default stuff, you need to delete all. Okay, then once you do that, then you need to kind of rename it lah. Once you do that, right, this script will automatically create an option down here called terrain. And down here is this export to OBJ. Okay, then what you need to do is you need to choose this terrain or this terrain tool mesh. And you just go terrain, export to OBJ, and then there is choices for you to change it to quartz, full. Then you can export, and then you ask you where you want to export to. Okay? Questions? And all this is covered in the notes here. Questions? Let me see.
I have a question.
Yeah.
Universal Render Pipeline. I I know it's been like maybe 6+ months that I've been using this, but when you first create like a project, then you have like a sample scene with like a bunch of assets and stuff. What do I do with that?
The sample scene,
The sample
just-
scene assets.
it always open out the sample scene, right? But you should not use the sample scene. Okay. What you should do is you should create a new scene now. You just basically go to the scenes folder, right? You just go right click and then create a new scene now. There's a new scene. Yeah, scene now.
Then for the sample assets, do I like remove them from the assets inside the folder, or do I just leave them there?
Yeah, if you want it to be clean, you can always throw away all those sample stuff, like all this.
I'm
Yeah.
also, possibly breaking something if I
I don't think it would because let's say you could even, but it doesn't matter that you keep it, to me lah. So my suggestion is don't go and touch it lah. Yeah. My suggestion is you just go and right click and then create another scene. I noticed some of you just use back the sample scene and then you just hide the sample scenes and that stuff, which to me it can be distracting, right? So why don't you just create a new scene? Understand? If you are worried that if you throw away any of the assets for the sample scene and it will cause some issues, which I don't think it would, then leave it long. Don't touch it. My usual workflow is I don't delete the sample scene, and I just create a new scene. This goes for HDRP. HDRP, the sample scene is even more complex. So I don't know what's involved in there. I don't want to go and touch it. So I just create a new scene. Okay. I feel so sad about this, but life goes on. Okay, now let me think. So imagine that I've exported this out. So I use this code and then I exported out the terrain, the Unity terrain 2 created terrain. Okay. So that one, so now I'm going to leave, for now, I'm going to leave this one. Okay. Let me think. Okay. So we're going to go to Maya. Okay. So apparently, something to take note of is that whatever you exported out, right, there might be some kind of weird change in the pivot point. You might want to like center pivot and then move it to the worst 0, of your Maya. Okay. So take note of this. New. So file import, file open scene. No. Let me set my Maya project. File open. So this is the exported one. Obviously, the pivot point has been altered lah. Just now in the notes is actually somehow or other is offsetted and all that stuff. So you need to center pivot it and then shift the pivot point down and then move it to the world center. Okay, and then as usual, you should go and freeze transform and all that stuff. Oh, I didn't freeze transform. Okay, interesting. Well, I didn't freeze transform. Well, okay, it's never mind. I don't know why I didn't do that, but there might be a reason. So that's that. One thing to take note of the sizing. Anything in Unity is in meters. While in Maya is in centimeters. So that might be the reason why I scale it by 100. So maybe when it comes in, right, that thing is super small. Because even though it's exported out, the one unit of Unity actually should be 100 units in Maya. So I have to go and make it bigger. Then that's that long. So that's that. Yeah, it came in pretty small. That's why it has to become bigger. Okay, you see, the thing is so small, so tiny. That's why, that's why I explained 1 unit in Unity is 1 meter. So that's why you need to become 100. Okay. So that's that. Now let me show you. From here, this thing is super high poly, right? Now you have to understand that later on when you put your human character down here, right? He's pretty small. You don't really need this kind of details, because the details that you really need to have is actually the normal maps of your textures. Okay, not really the silhouette stuff. Not so much lah. I mean, I'm not saying that totally no need, but not so much like this. Okay, so what you can do is when you are going to retopo, what you call retopology, right? You can actually have a little less less details. So what we can do right now is one way we can quickly reduce it. Right now, you see this one is 524288, right? Try count. Okay. Then we can create a polygon primitive plane. And in the history, right? Not here. In the history, I'm going to change this one to 150. We know from the terrain tool in Unity is 150. In terms of the size, 150 by 150 meters. So down here is actually 1500. Okay. So now you see this plane is exactly the same size as the terrain tool exported thing one. Okay. So I'm going to pull it upwards a bit so that it's just above the highest point of that cliff. Okay. And this guy, I'm going to, in terms of the subdivision, right, I'm going to push it to something pretty high. Oh, I can see a bit of that. That's not good. And I'm just going to pull it a bit up. I give it a round number 1900. Okay, and sometimes it's like, wow, this how there's some kind of issues. You might want to go, because this thing is very big, right? You need to go and select your camera. The far clip, near clip thing. Go and add on. I think I add on 10. Okay. Then what we want to do is just now this one, we want to subdivide this one. I played with the values that 300 should work. Okay. If you enter a value that's higher, and then at some point Maya is going to complain to you and say, hey, you really want to go that high? Yeah, it will pop up with something one. So then, which means that it's a bit high, that Maya might not function properly, it might crash your computer and stuff, then you reduce the number. Okay. So reduce until it doesn't complain. Okay. Then you notice down here, this one is 180,000. As compared to this one, is actually a lot more less, you see, than this one. And then what you can do is now you you choose this guy, then you choose this guy. The order of selection is important. Then you go to deform, then shrink wrap. Okay. Shrink wrap, this is ugly, right? The way that it's shrink wrapping. Okay. This is not what we want. But if you go to the history down here, you go to this one. Under here, there's something called projection. Change it to the vertex normal. And then this is what we are expecting. And this is what we want. And this one right now, if you want to delete history, you can delete history. Just going to, oops, where's my delete history? Modify. Delete type history. Once you delete history, this is it. You can actually throw away this one, the more high poly one if you want to, but you use this one to work with. Okay. And with this one, there will be some, because it's slightly more less poly count, there's going to be, I'm going to hide this guy, Control H. There's going to be some detail loss, but like I say, this thing is so big. The more important details is really for the character, right? In the third person view, right, is the textures that is being painted on the ground. Okay. So now with this one, you can, even with this one, right, you notice that, this is still crappy topology, UV is also bad, stuff, then what you could do is start to use something called quad draw. One of the possibilities is to use quad draw. Maya, if you choose this one right now, you can make it as a template where you can build your model, build your faces on. So you choose this one and then you say you go to modify. You can say go to make live. Okay, now you see down here, you say make live. This thing is there's this magnet thing, and then it's this P-plane one. Now, if I go into this one, this is actually the modeling toolkit, or you can also go here. You can always choose from here, modeling toolkit. Now you see down here, there's a live surface, right? And then you scroll down, there is something called quad draw. Okay, you go to quad draw, you can start to draw dots like this, and then press shift, and then you can create a face. And from here, right, you can kind of design your edge flow, or all that kind of stuff. So when it comes to organic stuff, this process of doing retopology like this is very important. Okay, and this quad draw method, right, there's a lot of shortcuts that you can use, that you can actually easily create more edge loop, and then it's very easy for you. It's quite intuitive the way that this thing works. So for places that it has less details, you can have a bigger face to cover it. But for places that has more details, then you need to have and you can actually do it like this, separate like that, and then later on join it up together. See that? And all the shortcut keys for this particular tool, right? If you scroll down, you go down here, you see keyboard and mouse shortcut. It's all listed down here. How you create those faces, how you can, let's say you make a mistake and then you want to delete, you can press Ctrl Shift to delete it. Or you can also control shift to delete a edge like that. Right. So it can be very fast in that sense. But no matter how fast it is, it's still going to be a bit time consuming to do this one. So you need to factor that in. Questions about this? Now with this method, you can also, when you're doing the quad draw, at some point you can just model out the coastal line and all that stuff, and basically don't care about modeling all the way to become a squarish thing, man. Then what you could do is you can bring in your C, that size comparator, put it somewhere at no, and then you can use that and then you can lock it with the display layer, right? And then you just build your coastal line. You need to have a bit of a margin, okay? Understand? Questions? So I've done some, throw away this guy and throw away this guy. I've done some quad draw thing, Shift H. Also, this is like quad draw, a bit of, not the whole thing, but see how some parts it has more details, then it will have more vertices and other stuff. Where is this one? Shift H. Modify, make live. This guy is the quad draw. Yeah. One thing to take note of is quad draw, right? When you're doing all this, right, there is a record of the history. So there's a history stack going on. So once in a while, right, you should try to get out of this one, quad draw, and then you choose this quad draw, go to the channel, then all this history, right, you need to delete history, clear the history, then go back to here, and then say quad draw again, and then start doing quad draw again. Understand? Or else is like history keep on going, right? It will also increase the possibility of crashing also. Questions?
I have one regarding this. How long would this take?
How long? I don't know. It takes experience, I mean, because some of this kind of edge flow stuff, right? How you can, you do need to care about keeping to quads or triangles and not create n-gons. For this situation right now, because the mountain is not going to deform, right? It's not going to animate, right? It's fine that you have some triangles, but you should always operate on the, with the mindset that I want to keep everything as quads. Okay. Because usually even if once you have triangles, right, it will create some kind of knots, right? That when you press the 3 button, right, that is misbehaving to a certain extent one. So ideally you should keep it as quads. Definitely not n-gons, because n-gons basically will open up the possibility for the computer to anyhow interpret edge flow. Don't do that. Okay, and because the fact of this thing, right, it could take a while if you're not experienced. So that's that. So I can't give you an exact timing, so to speak. All I can say is this can be very time consuming. So you do have to give yourself buffer time for this thing. Now, later on, I'm going to show you a so-called a lazy method, which basically you have to use ZBrush. Now, you know about ZBrush is like, if you want to engage using ZBrush, because the fact that you're not going back to school right now, cannot use the iMac comms, then you have to download the 30 days trial. You have done that before already. you have to use another email account to subscribe to ZBrush. So to get another 30 days. So the ZBrush method is faster for sure. So I'll show you all later on. So sometimes you want to save time, you might go that route, but definitely the quad draw method is you have more control. You probably could have reduced the poly count much more better than the ZBrush method. So pros and cons again. Can? Right now it's 10:38. So let's come back at 10:48. Before I show you all the ZBrush method, and take a break, drink water, go to toilet, whatever, then come back at 10:48. Be fast, but there's always pros and cons. It's fast, but it doesn't mean that it's going to like reduce the. It might still be pretty high poly compared to this quad draw method. But when you're in production, it's like really I need to save that time. Then you go with this ZBrush method, But then there's this situation right now you have is I don't have access to ZBrush unless I create another email account. Do I want to do that? That's your decision. Is saving time worth that while? Yeah, another thing to consider about. Okay, so that's that. So the ZBrush, I'm going to fire up my ZBrush method. Which when I fire up my ZBrush, I need to make sure that all my other stuff is off, because it's like ZBrush is a memory hogger. No, not what I want to do, but I still need my notes. Okay, ZBrush. Let me close this guy also. Arun is still not here, right? I'm just gonna mark him as absent. So sad. I thought with one everybody will be present, but okay. See, ZBrush. After I show you this one, probably a lot of you will just go with this method, but you had to decide. My suggestion is at least play around with quad draw, because knowing how to use that, it can be really useful. Anything, so you want to get rid of this margin. So I'm going to go to document and then new document, that you will click to clear off that margin. And just take note that with ZBrush, you should, after you're done whatever you need to do, and then you should go to the file to save as, not document, not tools. Okay, let's go to the file. And when you do that, it's basically you're saving the whole session, everything. So everything that needs to be, in case you want to like make any changes, it's easier to do things with the so-called the ZBrush project than just the ZBrush tool or the ZBrush document. ZBrush document definitely a no-no. Okay. Okay, so now I'm going to import and look for the mesh that was exported out from Unity with the code. Okay, import. I don't know why it's going to take a while because my ZBrush is a bit laggy recently. I don't know what is going on. So now I look for that OBJ that was exported out with the code. So this one is the raw form, the terrain tool sculpted thing in Unity, and then exported out with the code. And you'll notice that now you see down here there's this that particular sculpt or terrain tool sculpt is here. And you can pull in the scene, and after that you press the edit button here. Then you can move around. Now one of the thing that, let me just turn this off and then switch. One of the thing that some people, most people that were that first time use ZBrush is they will do this and this and then, what the heck is this? Then should this happen? That's because you didn't press edit immediately. So you just press Command or Control N for PC to clear the canvas. Then draw once again, immediately press the T button. Press the T button. Okay. Then now you can rotate and stuff. Frame. Somehow or other, this one looks weird. In terms of, see what the heck is going on. Then what you do is down here, there is something called perspective. Turn it on and it should look okay. Okay. So this is the raw form. Okay. Let me check. Okay, I thought there's some important message. So now there is something called sub tool down here. You see this one is your Terra export, which is the export from the terrain tool export with the code. I'm going to duplicate this one. I'm going to rename this duplicate. I'm going to rename and call this Terra ZRemesh. ZRemesh. Okay. I'm going to hide this. Now the I just hide the previous one. So this one right now, if we go and look at the wireframe, the way you look at wireframe in ZBrush is you press Shift F. And then you go zoom in, you see all this crappy stuff, which is one of the reasons that you have crappy UVs. Okay. Not the only reason, but one of the reasons. So you want to make the topology better. Okay. So what you can do is, I'm going to turn off the wireframe. You should try to turn off the wireframe, or else there's a likelihood if you keep on operating in the wireframe mode, right? It's not like Maya where you can still do things with what they call shaded on wireframe mode. ZBrush, if you do it, it's the chances of crashing is higher. Then also one thing to consider is this red cap might be very distracting. It might look cool, but it can be distracting. So we can change it to basic material. Then you can see the shadow better, like that. Because when it comes to sculpting, it's all about looking at the judging from shaders. From shadows. Okay, now from this thing, if I go to geometry, there is something called ZRemesher. So the ZRemesher, I'm going to go to half it. Okay, and then I just press ZRemesh. So it's going to ting. Oh, see down here, the thinking bar. Okay, it's done. Now, if I were to turn on the Shift F, you notice that the wireframe has changed. There is some kind of flow, right? See? It's much better distributed. Most of the things are still squarish, and it has some kind of better edge flows like for different parts of the this kind of thing. It's more organic in a way. Okay. Obviously, there will be some loss in details. Again, like I said just now, in terms of this thing that's so big, right, as a terrain, that is not the main issue that we need to worry about so much, because the sky is going to be so small. So it's when it comes to the details, it's more about the textural details with the normal maps of the texture. So now let me frame this guy. You have this guy, but it has less detail. You can actually try to get some of the details back, not all for sure. What you can do is this guy, the original, you can turn it on. You notice that all the brown thing is basically things that is lost, so to speak. Okay. So what you can do now is make sure that you choose the ZRemesh layer in the subtool. Then you go to within this subtool menu, right? There is something called project. And you just press, don't really need to change not anything down here. Just press project all. You see that there's some kind of changes. So it doesn't seem like a lot, but it actually capture a bit more details and try to conform the lower poly one to the higher poly one a bit more. In order to show you what the projection does, right? Let's say if I go to the geometry and I subdivide this ZRemesher. Subdivide is like pressing the 3 button to smooth it, and then I go and divide it so that there's a division tool, and then I go back to my subtool and then I do a projection again. I see now there's another change. Okay. If I go division 3, it will means I can even get closer to the higher detail one. But there's no point to do that because ultimately we're just going to export out the first one. Okay. So you go back to division 1, you can go export it. Okay. So that's with ZBrush. So ZBrush, ZRemesher, one button can immediately do the retopology very fast. So you can save a lot of time. Now also, besides that, in ZRemesh, in ZBrush, let me hide this guy first. After you're done the ZRemesh, right, we also want to get rid of all these squarish things that is not going to be used anyway, right? These are all extra faces, man. This is contributing to poly counts, but which we don't need to use anyway. It's going to be hidden by the C layer. Okay, so what you can do is, in ZBrush, there is a way that you can do selection masking. So if I press the Control and the Shift, right, you notice down here the thing changes. Okay, so I can actually draw some kind of a greenish thing, marquee. And what it does is whatever is within the greenish area, right, it's going to keep it while it hides the other stuff. Okay. Or let's say after you've done this, right, and then you go Control Shift and then you draw the marquee outside, right, it's going to inverse it. Okay, so basically it's hiding the thing. If you want to show everything back again, Control Shift and then you just click once outside. Okay, so then what happens is in subtool, I think in geometry, right? It's not subtool. In geometry, there is something called, let me close this ZRemesh. There is this modify topology. There is this option where you can delete hidden faces. Okay, so if we hide the faces and then we press this delete hidden, all those faces that has been hidden, right, can be thrown away. Okay, now the thing is, just now when we are doing this selection tool, it's only rectangular, right? So, but you know that our situation is actually spherical, right? I mean, not spherical, circular. So, can we make it a circular thing? If you click on this thing, the stroke, right, you can change it to circular. And then what you can do is now you can press Ctrl Shift. You can draw a circle. Now you cannot. The sad thing is, I don't think you can create by pressing the Ctrl Shift again, you can toggle between square and circle. I don't think you can create a perfect circle like in Photoshop. You can just press the Shift button, and then when you drag, it will be a perfect circle. Right? You can draw whatever as close as possible. This one is definitely not a circle, man. That okay, as much as you can. Then if you press you press after you release the Control Shift, right? But you're still holding on to your left button, right? You can press the space bar. No, didn't work. Hold on, let me try again. See, it takes a while to get used to this thing. Shift, space bar. Oh, space bar. Okay, and then your left mouse button you never release, right? Then you just drag around to put the circle somewhere where you want it. Also, again, let me try again. Shift, Control Shift, draw a circle, and then release the Control Shift, but your left mouse button is still on, it's still clicked. Press the space bar and then you shift it. You can move around with your mouse and then to wherever you like, and then you release the button. Okay, release the left mouse button. Now, all the other parts is whatever that is hidden, right? You can still see the hidden one, but if you go Control Shift and you draw a circle outside, or now you want to inverse it back. Okay. Now, if you press this hidden, delete hidden, modify delete hidden. Once you press it, it's gone. Okay. Now, if I do this and whatever, it's already gone. There's no more all those marginal stuff. Okay. So that actually will help to reduce quite a lot of poly count there. Okay. And in ZBrush, you can actually look at the poly count by just rolling over the subtool layer. So this one is 262144. This one is 85877. This one is 12345. This one is 12345 The number is six units. I mean six parts. I don't know what you call it. So actually it's definitely higher than this one. Okay. And questions?
And let's say we don't use ZBrush to make that circle, then in Maya we just delete the faces on our own.
Actually after this one, right, when you go into, let's say if you export this one out, right, you can still further throw away more, you see. Because right, you can still go and select this one and throw away more. In any case, I'm going to show you. So this one, after you say, oh, I like this already, then you can export this one out by go to export. You can actually export as an OBJ or FBX, up to you. Then I usually export as FBX. Then I have something exported already, so I'm not going to do that. So from there, we're going to go to Maya, and I'll show you what you do from Maya. Ken, any question about the ZBrush part? Yeah, If not, I'm going to move on to the Maya. Don't say that. So you notice that no matter what, like you'll be using multiple softwares. There is a software called Blender, which is free, which you might want to consider so that when you graduate already, you cannot have access to Maya, or as in like free access to Maya. Then you might want to convert to Blender. Blender actually has something similar to ZBrush also. Okay, sculpting and stuff. I'm not sure whether it's as good. All I know for sure is ZBrush is the industry standard when it comes to when you model, you use sculpting method approach one. But I've seen a lot of people using Blender also doing like ZBrush like things. Might be something to also want to explore. Who knows? Maybe you want to you might also want to consider about, hey, let me try to explore Blender now. And don't need to like go and create a freaking email for another 30 days trial for ZBrush. I have not played with Blender that much lah, so I can't help you that much. But that is another possibility to consider lah. Okay, but any case, let me fire up my Maya. So it seems as though with Blender, there's a lot of things you can do. Then it, in a way, it's more self-contained. Then you don't have to like keep on switching between so many softwares. Man. Okay. Import. So this is actually this guy is actually import. The part I have further thrown out more stuff, more faces. So I think this one is actually the C. So I kind of put the C there so that I can see roughly how much I can cut off. Okay. I don't cut all the way exactly. So I need to leave some kind of margins. Okay. So something to consider. Press 6. Yeah, see like that. Okay. So yep, that's that long. See that? See that? And then after which, right, you can, right now this one I have the UV unwrap, but I'm just going to show you how I do it. It's basically you need to like go to right view, and probably what you can do is at first you can just, okay, by default, ZBrush, when you export out that mesh, right, it doesn't have any UV one. So you want to just dump out a UV first. So you choose the mesh, and then you use a planar map, y-axis. Then you have a one UV map, which is squarish, which basically is the same as the way the way that the UV projection is done for the terrain tool in Unity. So there'll be stretching. And after that, what you can do is you can go like, faces, choose all these more high protruded out faces, right? And then you can probably do a cylindrical unwrap. Okay. And then you cut out from that squarish thing, right? And then you can in UV editor, after you cut it out, you can then basically, let's say, let me turn off the checkered thing. Then you can, UV shell. Can choose the UV shell, and then you can go shift right click, unfold, right? You all remember all this thing? So that's how I approach this thing. Okay. So that's how you need to like go and cut out. It's going to be, there is not going to be any order to this thing. So it will look very messy like this one for sure. One thing to take note of is after you cut and all that stuff, right, that is this possible. I mean, in terms of seams and all that stuff also, it's not going to be like, going to be super proper. You have to find, there will be like this kind of seams like this. But then remember that's going to be so big that maybe the seam is not going to be seen that easily, or you can actually hide it with rocks or trees or whatever. It all depends. It might not show up that bad. So this one, just take note that there will be seams that is like uncontrollable. It's not easy for you to hide seams. Okay. So because it's an organic thing, there's going to be like this kind of weird seams like that. Okay. Like you see down here, for the mountain, probably because the fact that it's more than likely that the character is going to be going outwards this way, and then maybe not going to be the cliff part. That's why I cut this thing down here so that I can unwrap it that way. So things to consider. So all this, the UV unwrapping part, just take note, you cannot just use the y-axis planar map and then call it a day, because then you'll end up in the same situation as your terrain tool. Okay. Questions? Now there's also, remember, one thing to take note of is also when you are selecting faces before you do the so-called the extraction by using some kind of projection to extract it out from the main UV, right? UV shell, right? Is you can actually use this one instead of using this one for selection, which is a squarish thing. You can actually use this one to use lasso selection of faces. I think right now it's because I'm actually selecting by shell. Okay, I go to faces, right? I can always like select this part of the face. You see down here. So there is this lasso selection. It could come in handy. Another thing to consider, all this part I didn't write in the notes. This is tips. Another thing to consider is to press this particular button. You see all this once you unwrap, right, you see all these areas that is got red, got blue, all these kind of things. Anything that is red like this, right, is basically, it's really not that good. In terms of, especially you see, wow, this part, the heck is super. You might want to consider about, let me see, whether I can choose these faces. I don't know. Just trying. There might be a way to relax this thing. UV. Can I relax this? Or then modify and fold. I thought there's a relax. Well, if not, right, you might have to cut this one out, right? This particular portion out. Let's say for now, I'm just going to just try it out. Don't care. Just see, go to UV, create. I'm just going to go create a camera base. This one is crazy. Didn't have this one. Try it again. Camera base. So I cut it out, right? And where the heck is it? Somewhere, yeah, down here. Then I'm going to UV shell, choose this guy, and then unfold. Now it's okay, and then we shall move it. Obviously, now it doesn't have that red thing, right? So it looks nice, but wow, it's so big. Okay, then you can always choose this guy. Oh, let's see. If you're anal about it, then you want to make sure that there's no pink color and stuff, then you can do it this way. Then you can, let me see, go to transform, choose this shell, you then go and get the texture density, come to here, then set the texture density. So in terms of sizing, it's similar. Then you can just put this one by the side. Yeah. So then there's also a lot of rates down here. You could go to faces. Then you use the lasso tool. Go and see whether you can lasso here. Yeah, you can also lasso in the UV editor. Okay. Then you don't care anyhow. Just create a camera base. You'll cut it out. Then also after that, go to UV shell, choose this one, and then go unfold. UV shell, move it. And so now you see there is less of that pinkish thing. Then again, set this thing, the texture density. Okay. Understand? Obviously, with this method, obviously there might be more patches. Then, depending on how you're going to arrange it, you might need to have more UV quadrant. Okay, or you don't care. You just force it into one UV quadrant, but you use a very high. Later on, you use a very high. That means like in terms of textural details, the texture space is just a 4K space, instead of a 1K space or a 2K space. Okay, questions? And once you do this, right, your UV, right, let me go and shift this one to another quadrant. Your UV should look better compared to the terrain tool one. So now if you turn on your checkerboard thing, turn off this. Okay, it should look better. Questions? So for CA1, right, you need to get to this stage. Okay, then after that, you get a screen capture of this one. Make sure that you have the C, so that I know that, hey, you need to show a screen capture that shows that your island is not bigger than that C thing. Okay. Pen. Then you have the another previously there's going to be a screen capture of this one similarly in Unity, which is the terrain tool one, with the crappy UV one, and put it side by side with this one and save it as a PNG, submit. That will be your CA1. So any question about CA1? Now your CA1, right, the island itself need not be something that is ready. It's going to be like, wow, your finalized island shape for your assignment one. Okay, it can be something that you just try out for now or prototype, but obviously it has to have a cliff, a high point like that, so that there is that. The whole reason is you have to have some kind of that's the a mountainous area, right? That actually will stretch the UV, man. Okay. Questions? No questions that. Oh, true, true. No questions, then I can move on. Yeah, I think, let me try to hide this too. Control H. I think this is the original one. Shift H. Yeah, this is the original one before doing anything. So actually, eventually, I also, after I actually also like go like this down here, and then with the sea level thing, like I'll just like select some of the area down here, and then whoops, faces. Yeah, select. Yeah, just delete. That's how I do it, though. Okay. And the original one, when you just bring it in, if I'm not wrong, I didn't do anything. Oh, I already cut. Okay, yeah. This one is I already did the UV unwrap. Okay. What is that one on top? Oh yeah, something like that. Okay. Okay. Questions about this process, the UV unwrapping part? You know too little to ask. Okay. I don't know how to answer that. Okay, now let's get back to Unity. Don't save. Okay. Get back to Unity. So after the UV unwrap, okay, after you done your retopology either through ZBrush or through the manual manner of using Quadro, then you UV unwrap. Then that mesh you can bring back into Unity. But this mesh that you bring back into Unity, right, you cannot do any painting, so-called the layered texture painting or scattering of the prefabs of like foliage and all that stuff, you see, because it's just a mesh. No, it's not a terrain anymore. Okay, and so the question is, can I make this thing become a terrain again? Or if I cannot make it a terrain, is there a possibility that I can use other tools in Unity that is free that can somehow circumvent this and bring back in that two features that I need, which is being able to paint layer texture, and then also scatter prefab foliage. Okay, this is how I think. Okay, so that is how we problem solve. Okay, so I go search, do research. Then I found out about something called Polybrush, which was developed by the company that created what's the other Polybrush, and then there's another one is Polybuild, is it? Which I think your STLD use, right? So there's Polybrush. Did y'all use Polybrush before? If not,
I don't remember already.
okay. If not, I don't think so lah. Okay, I think y'all use Polybuild. I think it's Polybuild. So same thing. package manager. Make sure the preview thing is on. Go look for polybrush. Polybrush law. Then you go and import. Right now I've already imported. That's why it says remove. I think the other one, is it Polybuild? Not Polybuild. What is the other one? I can't remember the name really. Anyway, so polybrush. So you import it. Anyway, and now I'm curious. Oh, ProBuilder. Sorry, ProBuilder. Okay, ProBuilder. Okay. So it's done by the same, it's created by the same company, then the Unity bought over. So now it's free. It used to be, it's not free. Okay. So use polybrush, import it in. And then when you import, right, there's some samples. There's this samples thing. You untour this thing. Make sure you import. Right now I've imported, that's why I say re-import. You need to import the universal render pipeline one, the shader samples, okay? And basically what happens is there will be this polybrush folder that has this shader, okay? Okay, these two things. And what you can do is you can right click on this thing, right? And then so create, and then say material, okay? And basically when you do that, right, it will create a material that you can apply to your mesh that you have created, right, and brought in from Maya with the good UV and stuff. Okay, you just drag that material over there. Let me see, my one is down here. So it is this one. And basically, it has this feature where you can put in albedo textures and yeah. Now, this one, I have made some adjustments to the shader. Okay, so the default shader, right, there is no normal map one. And also, it doesn't have all this tiling thing. Okay, so it's like by default, right, it only has albedo. And all this, the tiling ring thing, right, by default, is just one. In fact, you can't even make any changes to the tiling, so it's like it's freaking bad. So I'm going to hide this guy. See, let me open up this guy and hide the terrain original, and then open up this guy. So you notice that when at 111, it's like, if you use whatever texture, you cannot make the tile, you cannot adjust the tiling. So some of these textures, it just looks ugly because the scale doesn't make sense, man. And it doesn't have normal map. So it's going to be like, wow, it's going to be super smooth one. Okay. Or the rocky surface will still be super smooth. Okay. So it's not ideal, but it's a start. Okay. At least it allows you to paint different layers of textures. So it solved one problem, but not totally. That's fine. We'll figure out how to solve that. Solve the problem of the normal map as well as the texture tiling thing. Then the next thing is the scattering of prefab foliage. Okay, so after you fire up the polybrush, right? If you go to the tools, right, there will be a new thing in the new tools. There's this polybrush. You can open up the polybrush window. So in this polybrush, you can also use polybrush to do sculpting. So you can also further sculpt your mesh. Okay, and this one is for smoothing the sculpt. And then this one is vertex painting, which for vertex blending, you do need to use vertex painting, but because of the fact that it comes with this texture painting thing, you can kind of ignore this vertex painting thing, because this one has its own vertex painting system going on in this particular setup. So And then there's this scattering thing. So this is where you can actually pull your whatever, your Unity's asset store kind of foliage, right, into here, right? And then you can just go and scatter it around the trees, what's that? The grass, okay? Huh? So you can go and play around with this thing later on. But you have this one. Basically right now, if I choose this one, yeah, that thing should come back on. So this one, you see I have all the textures on here. So you have 4 textures. Yeah, that's that. This one, I just want to take note that sometimes I don't know why when you're putting in your textures, right, it doesn't show 4 textures, it only show 3, because there is one particular texture is by default, it's like so-called the base texture that you paint the other 3 on top of it. If it's not showing the 4 textures, right, you can press configure. The albedo texture is usually the one that is not showing up. Then what you can do is you can press the create attributes, right? And then you make sure that this thing in its base texture is turned on, and that the index the color is using R. Okay. This one is basically the vertex painting part, where if I paint green color on a vertex, this particular texture will show. Okay, so there's RGB and alpha also. That's why when it comes to this kind of setup, right, it cannot be more than 4 layers. Okay. Questions? Okay, and then all this you can actually fill, you can flood and stuff. The fill and flood, right? Basically, fill is by filling whatever faces that you're choosing, but flood, after you choose the flood, right, and then you go here and then you click on the thing, right, it will flood the whole island. Okay. So I'm not going to do that. Questions? So the scattering, see now here, if you choose this one, the scatter, right, you can scatter. Woo. Oh. So I use a cube just for testing. So by right, in theory, this would mean that if I put in a prefab of a tree or grass, it should work. Okay. Questions? So these are all the possibilities. Then let me think about, okay, let me see. So, but there's still the texture problem, right? So that one we're going to settle it next week. Basically the task to do for next week is how to modify the shader that was given to us, or the sample shader, modify it so that we can have this normal map at the, you can attach a normal map, you can tile this thing so that the texture will look correct in terms of scale, you see, the scale of the terrain, you see. Or else it's like, it doesn't make sense, you see. Well, you understand what I'm saying? So next week, what we're going to do is when you press this button, right, left click, you can go to edit shader and you go into a whole new world, okay? And to see this thing. This one you have done before, right? You know what is shader graph, right? You ever played with shader graph before?
No.
Oh, okay, long. Anyway, let me pull this one. So anyway, so next week we'll deal with this thing. Now next week because of some family stuff on one of the days, I cannot have class or face-to-face. I mean, not face-to-face, but like Zoom class with one of the class. So I want to make it fair for everybody. So I'm making the material. I've already prepared the materials, not video format, but just as it's going to be notes like this, but very detailed. And then you can look through. It's going to be async next week. So then you can look at this thing and then see how you can actually manipulate what is existing. You modify the shader. What was given was this thing. From here, all this is added in. All this is added in. So I will show you in my notes and also videos, because I personally don't know all these things. I look at videos to learn. Okay, that's how I learn. I'm not know it all. My specialty is really in animation and rigging. But because of the fact that I've done 3D, I know how to research lah, so to speak. So I would like you all to understand that in the real world, you don't know everything. It's like on job training law. You are just to figure out things as you're working law. So all this part deals with the toweling, okay, and this part deals with the inclusion of the normal maps, okay. And this one will be dealt with next week, and with the async notes. Okay. Questions. So now, one question you all should have, which I don't know why you all have not been asking. What is the question you think that I think you all should ask? It's like Riddler. Oh, you know, the Batman is coming out, right? The Batman. What is the question you think that I think y'all should be asking right now?
I'm not sure more, but to be honest, I am not even sure what we're supposed to be doing right now.
You are not sure what you are supposed to be doing?
Not me. I'm just speaking for myself. Not for the others.
Well, what I'm showing you all right now is basically how to jump off and start your assignment one, right? At least right now you are trying to model out or sculpting out a general shape of an island for your assignment one, right? Because whatever it is, right, it's supposed to be your assignment one is supposed to be a lighthouse island. That is why we need to have a terrain for the island. But if we use a terrain tool in Unity, there is this issue of the stretch UV, which is the stretch UV it's so obvious that it's really bad lah, but it has its pros, as in like, you can do the texturing, the layered texturing as a scattering of the tree set. And so now what I've just shown you the whole so far almost 3 hours is how can you figure a way to work around and solve this UV problem and still have and still have the two features that is very good, paint layered texture painting, as well as prefab foliage scattering. So to summarize it all, that's what I've been showing you all. Okay, so do you get it?
I see.
So in a way, this one, you can't run away from this one when you're doing your assignment one. When you want to do your island, you have to start somewhere. Obviously, there is, okay, for now, right, you start sculpting the terrain with the terrain tool in Unity lah. If you can, after I've shown you all this process, you can also improvise that. You like, anyway, I'm going to download ZBrush, right? Why don't I just sculpt my freaking island in ZBrush at the very beginning? then I can just import in the sea, the sky, and to be truthful, you just need to have the sea and the sky as a size comparator in ZBrush, and then create a plane in ZBrush, and then start sculpting a terrain in ZBrush, and then do the Z-remesh and all that stuff from ZBrush also. That's another possibility, because now you know the way to, after that, right, how to use polybrush or to apply the feature of multi-layer texture painting, as well as scattering of prefab. Once you know all the possibilities, right, then you can improvise really long. Understand? Then also there's a possibility that, hey, I don't care about multi-layered texturing. After I've done that mesh with a good UV, I'm just going to texture the whole island with Substance Painter. That's another possibility you want to go. You can go, But how can I settle the scattering? Then how would you solve the scattering problem? There's a possibility that I can duplicate the mesh after I use the Substance Painter. I duplicate the mesh, right, in Unity, and then use the duplicated one, right, to just scatter the trees. Then after I scatter the trees, because of the scattering, right, what happens is after scattering, right, the scattered trees is going to be, all these things, like you see the cubes all these cubes are here. It's going to be on this particular underneath it. So it's like this one is the parent, and all these things, all the scattered stuff will be here. But if you hide this guy, that basically even the scattered stuff will be gone, Then what you could do is probably you can group this thing. You can group this thing and then bring it out of this polybrush terrain, right? The one that's duplicated. Then you turn on your Substance Painted one. Then all these things will still be on top of it, These are, after you understand the workflow, right? You can flexibly decide how you want to attack in terms of in relationship to the time frame, because ultimately, right, it's about matching, getting a good quality work and hit and meet the deadline. And how do you reach it? That's entirely up to you. Okay, understand? So what I'm trying to help you all understand, right, through this module is there is no fixed rule, in the sense that there's no one approach. There's multiple approach. I can show you the concepts that I want to show you how I think when I approach a problem, which is your assignment 1. And then I will think about all the multiple approach, and then all the concept, that's important concepts, and then I can mix and match the possible concepts to come to a solution. Understand? Understand? I don't get any response.
Not really, but I'm trying to.
Okay. How about the others?
Sure. So your scattered cube is supposed to be a replacement for the trees, is it?
Yep.
And then you use a brush and then like this poly brush, and then just paint, and then like that.
Yeah.
So this is how you do your scattering.
Yeah. So basically the scattering thing, right? You can actually just imagine this cube, right? Instead of a cube, you actually put in trees or grass prefabs, then you can actually scatter trees and grass.
Okay.
And all this, right, you can actually go in, right, and if you want to make some changes, right, you can still rotate it one in terms of the orientation. At the moment, by default, when they are orientating, right, they're orientating to the so-called the normal of that particular face they are falling on. So, but after that, you may still want to have more minor details, changes to the direction of the orientation. You can still do it, man. Right? Huh?
So you say that we can do a lot of different workflow, but let's say that we want to create the mountain in Maya.
You then go ahead, lor.
Then the CA where you're supposed to have two different UV, the bad UV and the good UV.
Yeah.
How are you supposed to submit that?
My okay, in terms of the CA, in a way, yeah, I wanted y'all to do that so that I want y'all to kind of like have a understand the workflow. So you do not have, that's why I make it very clear to y'all that particular, when you're approaching the CA, right, you don't have to build an island that is going to be your final island, man.
So it can just be a very, very simple, very random, just for CA purpose. But assignment, we can do it our own workflow.
Yes, understand? But
Okay.
obviously, when you're doing this, your CA, right, you just have to have a mountain, so that actually there's some kind of texture stretching. Right?
Okay.
Understand? Okay.
Can.
Any other questions? Now, the question that I think y'all should be asking me right now is, why the heck did I force y'all to go and get the Megascan bridge? Up to now, I have not shown any Megascan stuff. Okay, so now we're gonna handle that. Okay, so let's okay. So y'all, when y'all are, I'm hoping that because when I teach, I don't want y'all just to like think in a step by step spoon feeding kind of manner, because ultimately, should y'all go into the workforce or even go for further studies, you need to be analytical and then have higher thinking and have questions that matches the situation. So yeah, by now I have not even touched on Megascan. You should ask that question. So now, why do I even force you all to import the plugin of Megascan? So now, just remember that Megascan, in order for Megascan to work, you have to make sure that if you have closed a Megascan thing by accident, you can always open it up or the Megascan importer or by the Windows Fixer and then Megascan importer. So one thing to take note of is also the Megascan. I'm not sure every one of you have played with it yet. Some of the students in the other classes, they have some issues where when they import, or should I say export from Bridge, right? We go to Bridge and they export the asset, right? What the heck? No, they want, okay, sign in ready. They export the whatever they have chosen. And they're going to export whatever. Is it this? I have export. Oh no, this is download still. What did I have? What have I chosen? Well, I think I've chosen this one. No, I think, yeah, sorry. When you export, right? There are some choices that you can make. You can change it to 2K, 4K, 8K. I think 2K is good enough. I know my note says for 4K. On second thought, I think 2K is good enough, because 4K is going to bloat up your project. And then there's this thing, export settings, the gear. You can always by default, every time whichever project that you're creating, and then you want to import your Megascan assets, right? You should go and set this thing. And what you should do is you should in your project, right? You in your assets folder create. This one I basically tap on the Quixel folder that was created when the plugin is being fired up, okay, or imported. So then basically you have to create some kind of folder. So I have an imports folder in here instead of just the scripts, where I can import all the Megascans assets. Then what you need to do down here is you have to direct it to that particular folder. Every project, when you're doing this, you have to direct to that particular assets Quixel folder. Okay, very important step, Alison. Then after that, you can export. You go press the back button, you can export. When you export, right, make sure that this thing is on, or else it will not export. What happens is for some of the students, when it's exporting out, it comes in, right, and then there is all this like the good thing is it comes with prefabs, and then you bring this thing in. What happens is it's actually coming out pinkish. So I'm going to rotate this thing first. Anyway, so if it comes in pinkish, right, what you could do is in the plugin, right, there is this thing called shader type, and this shader type is by default set to auto detect. For some reason, it seems as though there's some kind of hardware conflict for a certain PC model or whatever. If it's set to auto detect, right, some PCs will actually send in textures that is meant for HDRP instead of URP. That is the reason why it comes out pinkish. And the sad thing is you cannot just anyhow convert. You cannot just go to like here, go to render pipeline and then universal render pipeline, and then just upgrade, because you can't upgrade, man. The texture from HDRP is actually downgrade, you see. So that doesn't work. So then in order to solve that pink texture import problem, you need to change this to URP. You kind of like force it for sure it's going to be URP. Then when you export, it should come in correct. Questions? So this one I've after the recent reflection of all these problems from the students, I actually updated the notes of the Megascan notes. So you might want to download it again. And also there's another technical issue that a few students highlighted to me is when they imported this thing in, right, somehow or other the color of the light is greenish. So what happens is, if that happens, right, you can go to your windows and then go to your rendering, go to the lighting. Then in the environment, by default is this one, default underscore skybox, right? If you choose skybox matte instead, right, we will actually solve that greenish light tone problem. So should you encounter that, then you go and change this to skybox matte instead of keeping to the default skybox. Okay. So now when it comes to this one, if you think about this, I use Megascan library stuff, right? This is a prefab. Okay, prefab means like no matter how many times I duplicate this thing, right? If this one is only one asset, right? It's just going to, in terms of draw call, it's just going to read it as one asset, placed at different places. Okay. This is what it's like instances lah. So prefab is like instances. And can make this one smaller. And it's because of the fact that all this terrain is supposed to be organic, man. You don't have to be exactly in terms of shapes and all that stuff. You can just anyhow hamtam bola, as long as it looks interesting and not repetitive, right? And obviously, there is also a lot of other assets in Megascan that you can possibly import in and then try and tampa like that long, right? You get what I mean? Then you can, with this, right, just tampa out a shape that you like, you see. But obviously try not to use too many of them, because if you too many of them, even though it's instances, right? If you have, let's say you have 10, or maybe even go to the point where it's like, wow, 50 of them, but instancing to 1,000, but you still have 50 asset, Megascan assets there. And each Megascan asset is pretty high poly. Then there is a possibility that I would say very high possibility will slow down your walkthrough one later on. So pros and cons. Megascan, very fast, you can even block out this thing, and it's very realistic or very nice. All these details. What the heck? Let's look at all these kind of details. Very nice. Okay. And you don't, in a way, right? Let's say you want to go in a hybrid manner, right? You can even terrain this, right? Terrain out in Unity with the terrain tool. Don't care about the UV stretching, and then just cover up all those bad UVs with the Megascan assets. Then hybrid method, right? All these things, then you still use the terrain, or who knows, maybe you can find other Megascan assets that you can use to tampa all these areas. Also, I would think that you can't possibly like everything Megascan. Who knows? Maybe you can, but I don't know. You can try. So that's why you need to go and explore, okay. So Megascan is going to save you a lot of time, but you need to test out so that whatever you so-called block out with the Megascan assets, right, don't slow down don't slow down the walkthrough. That's why I keep on saying that. I mean, the very beginning, I say even when you're doing your terrain, right, terrain blocking or sculpting, you need to have that 3D character, third-person character camera set up already in there, so that once in a while after you've done your blocking, right, you should press this play button and then let your character walk around, check out whether some of the things that you created is too difficult for the character to be able to like walk upwards and all stuff. Okay. Any questions? Now, I have to stress, Megascan can save you a lot of time while giving very realistic stuff. But there's one thing that you need to be careful about. If Megascan is so hyper realistic that it would mean that whatever you create for your architectural stuff, which I demand that it has to be done from scratch, right? In terms of stylistic thing, right, it needs to match, or else it's going to like, wow, this is all the environment super hyper realistic, and then all of a sudden your architectural thing is like a kiddie thing. Then there's going to be a jarring effect, you see, and it's not nice, you see. So you can save your time with the building of the terrain. That save time must be invested into more important other important things. So like making the lighthouse and the residence area in terms of texture and stuff, very realistic to match with the Quixel library stuff. Again, pros and cons. All these things you have to. There's no right or wrong answer as long as you can make it match as a whole, as the architectural stuff matches with the environment's style. Ken, questions? A question? No question. Silence means what?
Sorry, I just don't have any other. Not sure.
Again?
I don't have any other. Sorry.
I can't hear you very well. Your mic is.
I don't have any comment.
You don't have any comments?
Yeah, unfortunately.
A lot of these things you have to do, then you know what to ask law. Or I can show you all these things until you do it yourself. You wouldn't.
Wait. One thing. I actually just imported like the 4 yardsticks, but there are no textures. Am I like to find them myself or?
I've updated that file. So if you have downloaded it like before yesterday night, right? You should re-download it again.
I downloaded it today.
Oh, okay. Then did you do that process of trying to extract out the material as well as the textures?
Oh, wait.
Yeah, you need to do that. Remember the part where I actually extracted out the texture, I mean the materials, then the texture?
Oh, okay.
Then after that, the materials will still look white. You need to direct it to the proper texture. Then after that, when you pull the asset out to the scene, the texture should come out. I spent quite a long time trying to fix that yesterday night because a student also in another class also found out about this problem. So apparently, when I export the assets, I forgot to embed the media, and then there was some pivot issue. I solved it and all that stuff. So yeah, is it working?
Haven't done it yet.
Okay, let me know. Because just now I did show with the assets that was downloaded directly from mail lah. Yeah. So remember to extract out the material as well as the texture. Any other questions, people? You all know what you need to do. Can you all respond and tell me what do you need to do by next week? Before actually, what is needed to be submitted by next week? Wednesday, I think it's Wednesday is 27, 2359. There are 2 things that you need to submit. What are they?
PureRef and this one.
PureRef and this one. What is this one?
The
island.
Yeah.
What island? You want to be more specific, man.
So,
Crystal Cliff.
PureRef. Oh, sorry.
PureRef, yes. Yeah, PureRef, and then the CA1, which is basically the image comparison. The quad draw, not necessarily quad draw, but whatever is in Maya with the UV and red fix. Okay. and the previous one, which is the Terrain 2 Sculpt in Unity with the bad UV. Okay, side by side, put together in a PNG, submit it. Then you can get full mark already for your CA1. Okay, and also you need to have that C lah. You need to have that C. Okay, so that I know that your island is not bigger than your sea. Okay, that I know that you're not supposed to make your island bigger than the sea. Okay, can. And then when it comes to pure ref, don't just anyhow do pure ref, please. Think about the story that you want to tell about this island. Have you seen the movie? I mean, do you all know about a movie called The Lighthouse?
No. Well, to me anyway.
I thought some of the ladies would know about this because there's this particular actor, super handsome one. The Lighthouse images. There, this guy. But he's going to be the next Batman. Yeah. He's the Twilight guy. Yeah, so The Lighthouse. So this one, right, is like you can see like it's like a horror film. So the whole thing is like, you know, the mood is like this whole island on the lighthouse is like, no, it's quite scary. Like. Not that I asking that all of you do scary thing. What I'm saying is that you need to decide on the mood, a general mood first, or what your island is going to be. Then it will actually help you to decide, hey, what are the other, how would that lighthouse look like? How would the residents, even if it's just the exterior, look like? Because the people who are residing there will actually, are they people who cares about making sure everything is very, clean, or just anyhow heck care one. All this will reflect these people that's living there on the island, and then there will likely be props. Even though I'm not saying that, I'm not determining what are the props and that stuff. In order to make your whole environment more interesting, there should be props around. If you want to do the bare minimum, then I'll give you the bare minimum marks that, to just pass that, But if you want to score higher marks, right, for sure, you want to make the island an island that is living, which will mean that it needs to have props and stuff. Now, these are all things that you have to think through. Okay. And when you're thinking about your storytelling thing, your backstory and stuff, and then with that, when you're doing your visual research, then you kind of like correlate, sync up, okay. Besides the lighthouse, beside the island, then you can also look into what are the other props that I can look into that I want to help strengthen the storytelling element with the pure, because the pure ref from what I see you all have done before is like, sometimes I just feel that your pure ref is just for the sake of doing it. Then it's not helpful at all in making your project more better, because you're doing visual research just to get grades. Then it's not helping you to gain more insights on how to make your scene look more better in terms of quality and stuff. Then if you can live with that, it's fine. Maybe this is it's just not a career that you're going to look at further. But I would like to think that you should at least try to inculcate a work ethic, right, where you want to bring meaning to what you are doing. Okay. For me, it's simple. I mean, in terms of any job that is given to me, I do my best. No, I don't try to like or laze around, do only the bare minimum. No, because it's just not that's not my personality lah. Yeah. So I know for sure Megascan can save you a lot of time, but if you use Megascan to save you time, but then in the end, right, it's just to save you time so that you can laze around, because it will show up one, because you do Megascan, then you laze around, and then last minute then do the lighthouse and the residence. There's no props around, no strong storytelling element. All these things will show up. Then I will dock your marks down, lor. Simple as that. Okay. There's a lot of ways to save time, but once you save the time in your production, where do you invest that save time to? Questions? Okay, if no questions, okay, I leave it up to you all to do your CA and your maybe start doing some research on Megascan, and not Megascan, your assignment one store. Think about what you want to tell, with this island that you are doing for assignment one. This assignment one, if you treat each assignment as your portfolio, then you can have at the end of it, right, you will have a good portfolio so that you can maybe find a better internship next semester, or is it next semester or next year, like whichever. Well, in any case, third year you will be going out for internship. And when you want to go out for internship, you have to have portfolio, to show people what you can do. And if it's like bare minimum things that you just pass, it's just for passing, you wouldn't get good internships. You get crappy internship and be stuck in an internship that you will not enjoy. And also, for some of the better internship, you can get higher pay. So that's entirely up to you. Okay. For me, it's like, don't be too short-sighted lah. Think, I know you all are young, maybe a bit short-sighted. Think a bit further lah. Okay. Nothing, you can go, you're free to go. If you have questions, you can still stay on.